Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie, and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Seriously, thank you so much. That's like the third time I've burped within the past month of filming. I cannot stop. For some reason, something about my intro makes me have like indigestion or something. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but the theme of this episode is family drama, okay? So let's get into it. The title of the first story is My 16 Female Father Acts Creepy Towards Me. Should I tell my brother, 28 male? He is my guardian. My mother died of cancer when I was 7. At the time, my father was nowhere to be found. He had left my mother when I was less than 1 year old. I grew up with my mom and older brother. When my mom died, my brother became my guardian. He took good care of me and always made me feel safe and comfortable. He's been mother and father and brother for me at the same time. 2 years ago, my father came back and asked to be a part of our lives again. He said that he's changed and he wants to make things right. He initially used to come around once a week for a few hours, and it was nice. However, recently in the past 2 months, he has been acting creepy, which makes me uncomfortable. He texts me about my looks all the time, tells me I look like a complete woman now. It makes me feel weird. Last week, he asked me about my sex life, which I'm not comfortable talking to him about. He asked if I watch porn, and if I do, what positions do I like? I mean, this is creepy, right? I don't like it. My brother talked to me about sex, but it was about safety and consent and things like that. Never these details that my father asks. I want him to stop asking these things, and that's all he talks about. Honestly, I want him to just stay away from me. I don't like him. He gives me bad vibes. I know he's my father, but I don't see him as family. He's just another person to me, a creepy person that makes me uncomfortable. Should I tell my brother about these things and ask him to keep my father away? He has a good relationship with my brother. They've become close in the recent months. 100% tell your brother. Your brother is not going to be happy about that. Your brother is 100% going to feel protective over you. And also, your brother is not going to want to have a relationship with him after hearing who he really is. That is so disgusting. No effing way should he be asking you these things. No effing way. He's despicable. That's disgusting of him. Someone said, tell your brother that your dad is making you feel uncomfortable. Tell him now. Show him the text. You haven't done anything wrong and are very brave to ask. Please tell your brother. This is called grooming. It starts with small comments and building up to potential physical abuse. You should be with your brother who can protect you, and ask for a counselor. They can help you get the words to bring up the uncomfortable discussions. I'm proud of you for realizing that this was not appropriate. You don't have to continue to see your bio dad. It's okay, really. I'm a mom, and if you were my daughter, I would want you to cut contact with your bio dad. Yeah, I agree. 100%. This man should not be allowed around children. And I feel like probably the only reason he came around is literally because he's like, ew, saying that you look like a complete woman now. Ew, that's literally what a pedo says. Like, he's definitely trying to prey on this little girl. And that's so scary. Okay, there's an update 3 days later. I told my brother everything and showed him all the texts as most of all of you told me to do. He was shocked. For a few minutes, I couldn't say what he was thinking, but after that, he told me that I should have told him sooner and that he will make sure our father never bothers us again. For a moment, I thought that he was upset at me, but he was really furious at our father. He asked our father to come over and told me to remain in my room until he leaves. They ended up having a big fight, and they were loud, which I could hear. Father was yelling that a parent has a right to raise his daughter as he sees fit. Brother told him that he doesn't even know how to spell the word parent. He eventually left. He sent me a text that, quote, your brother is way over his head. Don't choose him over your own father. I replied with my brother's permission that I'll choose him over 1,000 sperm donors like you. I don't want to see you ever again. And then I blocked his number. I'm very happy that my brother did this. I feel much better and safe now. He always made me feel safe. When he has his own kids, I'm sure he will be the most amazing father in the world, as he has been one for me. He said that he'll also inform the police and school, and if my father tries anything, I should tell him immediately to maybe look for some legal way to keep him away. I just hope that my sperm donor of a father stays away from us forever. Yeah, and hopefully you can get him on a registry, because it sounds like he's not going to be stopped. That's for sure. The top comment says, I'm very glad that this story only required one update. I do love the best of Redditors with a whole saga, but I agree with you here. We don't need more updates. Nobody needs more updates. This was a brother who stood up for his sister in the best way possible. And I knew that he would. I knew that he would. This person said, what an absolute diamond of a man. He was 19 when their mom died and he took over raising his 7-year-old grieving sister. It sounds like he's been doing a terrific job. No, actually, stories like this make me so like, wow. Because I don't know if I'd be able to do it. Like, I'm sure I would, because like I would feel like there was no other option, and I don't think, like, I obviously wouldn't want my sibling to go into like foster care or anything like that, but at 19 years old, I would feel like, what the hell do I do? What do I do with this? How do I do this? What the hell is this? How am I going to make money? How am I going to survive? How am I going to raise a child, like a 7-year-old? Like, how? So serious props to people that do that, because it's just like so hard for me to even wrap my brain around. And my brain is hurting a lot right now because I have a headache. My whole body is hurting. And I need Taco Bell. I want Taco Bell. I think I'm going to get Taco Bell for dinner. It's Friday, so it's like, why not? You know, I should. I deserve it. And my back hurts. I tweaked my back. So it's like, my head hurts, my back hurts. I deserve it. Yeah. Yes. Okay, well, we're going to move on to the next story. And the title is, My brother is refusing to pick up his 2-year-old son after I watched him while he was vacationing. Hoping for advice because I'm overwhelmed and I honestly feel like getting the state involved. So my twin brother and his wife, who I have bad blood with, went to New York City on a trip a week ago. They have a son who turned 2 today. Before leaving, my brother asked if I could watch their son, and I agreed to it. I just reminded my brother to be back by his birthday because I wouldn't want him to miss their only child's birthday. My husband and I also have a family trip planned to Great Wolf Lodge, the huge indoor water park, on Halloween, and I voiced to my brother that I didn't feel comfortable taking their son to a crowded water park without them tagging along. They flew back into Florida, where we all live, late last night. I didn't bother them this morning about picking up their son due to them probably being exhausted. Around 11 a.m., my brother texted if I wanted to meet up for lunch. I was a bit annoyed at the last-minute plan because I'm a mom of 6 and I can't just drop things to go have lunch with them. They offered to buy, so I went to the restaurant. They ended up flaking, so I got food to go and came home. I called my brother and went off on him, which caused him to block my number. He took offense that I don't want their son tagging along on our trip during our phone argument. It's 5 p.m. and they have yet to get their son. I'm stressed, overwhelmed, and don't know what to do. I don't have his wife's number, and honestly, she will be no help. I know Reddit is limited when it comes to helping, but what would you all do? That's crazy. What are they, abandoning their child? You would think once they come back from a trip, they would want to see their child, no? Especially on his birthday? Or like right before his birthday? Or, I don't know. Is it his birthday? What the hell? Some relevant comments, OP on her brother's marriage and the reason behind the NYC trip. She said, I didn't really want to go too much into the trip due to me wanting to protect my brother's dignity. I really don't care anymore about protecting him. So here's some hidden context. Around a month ago, him and his wife got into a heated argument. She left him to fly to the UK to meet some man. Things didn't work out with that relationship, so she flew to New York City and convinced my husband to fly there so they can work on their relationship by having a small getaway. Their marriage is messy. This is the 4th or 5th time that they've separated. What? What the hell? What is going on? What is this? These parents, what are they doing? Okay, OP on hers and her husband's job. OP said, my husband is a pediatric craniofacial maxillofacial surgeon. What in the not bodunk, but like what? That's the longest word, and I don't know what even this is. I make money from TikTok. We moved to Florida in June of this year from Arizona and use our Arizona house as Airbnb. Our children are well kept and have a far better childhood than my husband and I had. I think it's very trashy to hate on large families and assume that we can't afford our children. Oh, that's what they're doing. They're assuming because she has 6 children. 6 children? Go off, queen. That's so crazy to me. I can't even imagine raising 6 children. Honestly, sometimes I think like I want a huge family, but then I think like maybe that's just like a fantasy, you know? Like maybe that's just like a fantasy that sounds like it would be really fun, but like once I have a kid, I'm going to realize how hard that actually would be. I mean, I know how hard it would be, but obviously I feel like you can't fully comprehend until you actually have a kid, and then you can be like, oh yeah, no, this 6 times over, I don't think so. Or maybe when I have a kid, I'll be like, this 6 times over, give me it. Give me 6 more. So we'll see. Okay, someone said, okay, so the brother is an ass. I have one like this too. But what about the sister-in-law / mother of the child? She isn't missing her baby. Many moms can't even make it through a date night dinner because they don't want to leave their baby. How is she not wanting to see her baby regardless of the brother / dad? I think the law enforcement officer who said they think it's drugs is onto something. If it was postpartum, the dad would still want to have the children even if mom is freaked out. I think this is a couple who shouldn't have had kids and did. I hope we get an update, but I think they just said she has 6 kids and is good at it and decided their son is better off. Blocking someone who has your kid is beyond insane. Shitty brothers exist. I believe that part. Just struggling with the other piece and trying to find an explanation beyond the obvious. They don't want the child. Sad all the way around, but I don't see how she is the automatic winner of the kids is yours now. Right. OP said, the reason why my sister-in-law and I don't get along is because she lies a lot and is a horrible person. We actually did get along until her mask fell off. I'll tell you all of the drama. They've been married since August of 2020. They had their wedding in our grandma's huge backyard. My grandma did ask at their reception about kids in the future because she favorited my brother a ton, and she was so happy that he found someone after years of legal trouble that he'd been through. My sister-in-law claimed that she had cancer and they had to remove her uterus a few years ago. 7 months into their marriage, my brother and her got into a huge argument. She told him she lied about the cancer and she doesn't want to have children. They had a pending divorce on them, but reconciled in February 2023. She ended up getting pregnant. I was also pregnant during the beginning of 2023 with my youngest. She drank during her whole pregnancy and vaped. Mind you, we lived states away from each other, but she would do this while live streaming on social media. Even in her Facebook bio, she put, forced to be a mom because abortions are illegal. What? Wait. What? Okay. So she lied about having a uterus because she didn't want to have a kid, or what? Is that what the situation is? This is crazy. Lying about cancer? I'm scared of that. And yeah, I wouldn't like this woman either. It sounds like this is a whole mess of a situation. And like, I know that obviously it's your choice to take in the son or to not take in the son, and but like, I feel really bad for the son that he has to have these parents that are insane in the membrane and drinking the whole pregnancy. Like, if that's not irresponsible, I don't know what is. And then to put that in your bio is actually insane. OP on her family's background when she was growing up. It is mostly definitely real. Feel free to come over and help if you're just going to run your mouth. I never said that I didn't know what CPS is. Of course I know what it is. I experienced not being wanted, and the same thing happened to my brother and I at a young age. My parents lost parental rights, and my grandparents had to raise us. Maybe I don't want the same thing for my nephew. Tell me you haven't grown up in a broken family without telling me type of comment. T. Clock it. Okay, 8 days later, there is an update. I apologize for the people who were waiting a bit for the update from my last post. My husband and I and our kids just got back from Great Wolf Lodge staycation today. First of all, for the few people that were assuming that my post seems fake, it's most definitely not. I had a very toxic childhood. I wasn't loved and grew up in a broken family. I got married at 19 to escape. I don't take child abuse lightly and certainly wouldn't use my nephew for attention. I made the post when I was infuriated at my brother. It was a vulnerable, raw post. I have ADHD and I don't always think before I say things and post things. It's a personality trait about me that I wish I could change. With that being said, now going into the update. My brother did unblock my number later in the evening on the same day that he refused to pick up his son, which was 10/28. He said that they've been given an eviction notice. I am the co-signer for him. I helped him find an apartment after their last eviction. He asked me if I can be his co-signer in case people are wondering why I'm his co-signer. What? Of course, this started another phone escalation because he assumed that their eviction had something to do with me. After thinking deeply and chatting with my husband, we decided to take custody of our nephew. We have plans to work with CPS on getting some funding for his care. He went on our trip, and he's such a sweet, energetic little boy that doesn't deserve to be crapped on. We have 5 daughters and only 1 boy, so now our son will have a little buddy. My parents lost parental rights of my brother and I when we were 12. So for the people worrying that our nephew is going to be placed in a foster home, it's something I don't have the heart to do. I don't want to continue that cycle. Okay, well, you're an angel. I was really hoping that's what would happen, to be honest with you, this whole time, because I was worried about the son. Like, there's an unimaginable amount of things that could happen in this situation when you have parents like this. Like, some people, will go absolutely insane and crazy, and like, they're not gonna, if they really don't want a son, you don't know what they'll do to that son. The possibilities are endless. Like, I mean, the amount of stories I've seen, like, it's just so sad and crazy. But relevant comments, OP on why her brother and his wife were going on vacations, avoiding their parenting responsibilities, and what his thought process was. She said, not trying to defend him, but it has much to do with his IQ. It has much more to do with his IQ than his priorities. We were both drug exposed in the womb, and it affected him way more than me. I feel like a parent to him more than his twin sister at times because he's so clueless and his IQ is very low. That's why I added in my original post that I had to remind him to be back before the 28th, or else he would have been still on vacation on his child's birthday. Aw. See, that is so sad because, you know, generational trauma, it just continues and continues and continues. And like, they had these kids, and it's just sad. Commenter 1, I'm honestly wondering why the landlord didn't contact you before evicting your brother if you were a co-signer on the loan. That would make you equally responsible for getting the rent paid. So either your brother put a fake phone number down for you, or the landlord didn't fully do their job. You should have some heads up before this happened. I'm glad you took your nephew, and I hope that he has a good life with you and your husband and your kids. OP said, it wasn't a rent issue. My brother is unemployed by choice, and his wife is also. I was covering most of their rent. It was a filth issue, and them ignoring it and ignoring the landlord's warnings. Roaches and mice were living rent-free in their place type of filth. They were also sneaking in pets without approval from the landlord. Thanks, by the way. Whoa, okay, so this is way more than it even seemed to be in the beginning of the story. Like, the original story, if there would have been more backstory about that, like, it sounded like these two parents were rich, going on a New York City. You don't have to be rich to go to New York City, but you know what I mean? The way that I read the story in the beginning was like, oh, these rich people are going on a trip to New York City, and they're just like leaving their son with this woman and just being like, whatever, take care of my baby, and I'm gonna go on a lavish New York City trip and stuff. And then reading more into it, it's like, oh no, this is actually like a serious, deep-rooted issue problem. This brother should never have had a child. This woman should never have had a child. They both together should have never had a child. Thank God this child is getting out of this situation sooner rather than later, because I think that he's gonna have such a better life with his aunt. That's his aunt? Yeah. And what's one more kid? 7 kids now. Wow. Slaying. Being unemployed by choice. Both of you are unemployed by choice. And then what? Just expecting people to pay for your rent? Like, how did you even go to New York then? What? How are you going to New York? How did this girl go to the UK? Like, how are people... I always wonder, like, how do people like this do anything other than just live in a house and like sit there all day? What? are you giving them money? Like, it's always very confusing to me. It's like, how do they get money to even do things? This top comment says they're responding to her saying the brother is unemployed and his wife is also, and asked if she could be the co-signer in case people are wondering why I'm his co-signer. And then they said that is not an adequate explanation for why OP co-signed, LOL. And then someone said, I think the broken home and feeling more like his parent than sibling could adequately explain it, though. Especially if she's never had therapy and she makes her money from TikTok. I'm sure someone could find her based on the info provided. Plus, unwarranted quote-unquote survivor's guilt that she was less damaged by the mother's drug abuse than he was. Oh. Yeah, honestly. I never even thought about that. That's so real. Someone said, if he's as impacted by drug exposure in the womb as OP says, it might even be that the brother genuinely doesn't have the mental capacity to earn enough for his own place, and OP decided they can't handle acting as a carer but will cover rent costs. Plus, maybe wanting to ensure the baby has a safe home to stay. Reading between the lines, the brother is disabled and the sister-in-law has some serious mental health issues. OP is doing well, so she probably feels it's her responsibility to care for her brother. They had a terrible childhood and she escaped poverty. She knows what it's like to have nothing and probably feels like she has to repair some of the damage their parents have caused now that she can. It's so crazy to think I did grow up in poverty and stuff, and I have my own things that I dealt with growing up, but it's so crazy to me to think it wasn't this bad. Like, I feel so awful. My point that I'm trying to make is that so many people have so many different experiences, and that shapes so much of who they are and how they see the world. And it's like, and it's hard to understand sometimes, and sometimes you really have to think you have to think into it, because I've seen people be like so put off by like homelessness, by kind of bad areas in a town or a city or whatever, and be like super judgmental towards that. And then you think about like, oh, they grew up this way, and like, of course you need to educate yourself and really learn about what am I trying to say? I'm like trying to explain that it's just crazy to me because I grew up this way. Like, I grew up similar to this, but not nearly, like, obviously this girl went through so much more than I did, but I did grow up with pretty extreme poverty, I would say, and always having to worry about like money and things like that. Obviously my mom did her best and she didn't want that for me. Like, she didn't want me to be worried about that kind of stuff and know about the money problems and stuff, but it was inevitable for me, obviously. Like, when you're that poor, you know, you don't know, but you know. And as you get older, you're like, oh yeah, not everyone lives like this. And sometimes I would see that and sometimes I wouldn't. Like, I would feel like, oh, this is just how life is, but then I would see my friends doing this or being able to afford this, and I'd be like, wait, we're not all poor? Wait, what do you mean? Wait, where'd you get that money from? You know? And it's just crazy to me to think about how everyone's life is just so different growing up, and it really shapes the way that you view things, because obviously she knows how it feels to feel this way, and that's like why I feel like I am the way that I am. And honestly, I always think about how grateful I am for it. Like, yes, of course, was it a struggle at times to feel like I didn't get these things that other people were getting, and it sucked to have to like get school supplies from like the local donation place that would give school supplies, or I don't even know what they were called, but there were a bunch of programs that my mom was helped with, which honestly I can probably thank Obama for that, because that was like a lot of during his presidency, and I feel like there were so many good things and good resources for poor people. like we would get school supplies from local places that would put together school supplies for people that can't afford it. We would get Christmas presents from people. And the thing is that it's so crazy is I don't know why I feel like I'm going to cry, but it's so crazy that we went through such poverty, yet my mom was like the most giving person ever. Like she would give people that were more poor than us, like couches, and like donate people that she knew personally, or she even just met like one time, and she'd go through all of her clothes and give them to people that she thought would use it more or need it more. And it was crazy because it's like we literally needed more, yet my mom was so giving and is still so giving. And I think that's also like why I think that's a big part of who I am, and like I want to be someone that is just able to provide for people that I don't know, or make a difference and make changes. And I don't know why I'm getting so off track. Like this is so off track, but it just really hit me when, she is taking care of her brother and she feels like her brother is her responsibility and she knows what it's like. But some people don't. Like some people don't know what it's like, and that is the reason why they are the way that they are. But I feel like it's so important to educate yourself, and I really wish that everyone could understand. I don't wish that everyone was poor growing up, but I do wish that everyone got to have that perspective, because I think it's such an important perspective. Like it truly has shaped so much of who I am and how I see the world and how I see other people. And like I grew up even in a pretty good neighborhood as well. I mean, I would say my sister probably had it worse because my parents were much younger and even more poor and didn't have as much, and my parents were married and probably like not in a good situation and relationship. I didn't have to experience any of that. So it's just so interesting how life is. And I kind of am thinking more about this because I was just in New Orleans and just like seeing an extreme amount of homeless people not have any resources. Like truly, it's really upsetting to think about, honestly. Like it didn't seem like, and I could be wrong about this, okay? I'm not trying to be judgmental, but it doesn't seem like there were people that cared about the homelessness. Like it seems like I'm sure there is homeless shelters and I'm sure there is like food banks and things like that, but it didn't seem like it. It seemed like there was an extreme amount of poverty and just like such a big difference, and I felt guilty even just walking around, like going to the mall, being able to buy a pair of boots, and then walking back to my hotel and seeing literal tens of hundreds of homeless people and their dogs and things, like asking for money. And it's like, it's just disheartening. I always wish that there was more to do, so I can understand why you would feel like that's your responsibility, especially with your brother. Like I would definitely feel the same way if it were my siblings that were in this position. And I even like feel like I'm so blessed, and I feel guilty for being so blessed because my mom wasn't like, she had a lot of poverty. She experienced a lot of poverty growing up, and I feel like one of the things I really want to be able to do is like take care of my mom and provide for her in a way that she hasn't experienced. Like she was never able to experience fun vacations or do a lot of things. And the other day she was like saying to me, yeah, I probably will not, like, I hope you have so much fun in New Orleans, and like I probably will never be able to go before I die. And she wasn't saying that to like make me feel bad, but she was just like, she didn't say it in a bad way. She was just like, yeah, I probably won't get there. But that makes me want to like give her money to be able to go see places that she isn't going to be able to go to. I don't know, guys. I'm literally yapping on about this, but I hope you guys understand what I'm saying and where I'm coming from. I think just having a different perspective on life and like poverty and the way that people, it's not just the difference in lifestyles and seeing people do have all this money, but then seeing the complete flip side and just wishing that didn't have to exist and that everyone could just have resources. Like it's human rights to have access to food, access to water, access to showers. Like all of these things that we feel like is a privilege is really, we should just have it as human beings. And it sucks that no, like, hello, can we get a president that cares and that actually wants to work towards solving things like this? And I know we've had them in the past, but like now it feels like everything's just he's undone every good thing that any other president has done. But I'm going to stop yapping now. My head is literally going to explode in 5 seconds. So I love you guys so much. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Hopefully I didn't yap your ear off. Bye. Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.